Welcome back to this course on Custom Cabinet Planner. Today we will look at Custom Cabinet Planner as a companion to Custom Cabinet Estimator. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the Ballpark Estimate. And this piece is standalone for Custom Cabinet Planner, but it is pre-qualifying potential clients before you go to the trouble to create a formal estimate. And so we would come to this section here, and I've got a nice long description of how I think this should be used. I'm basically saying to be able to do this ballpark estimate, we're going to need something to base the quantity of cabinets off of. Some blueprints, some drawings, some sketches, maybe photos of the existing space that cabinetry needs to be installed in. Then we have a step-by-step process on how to go about this, and we have a link from the procedures to the rooms page, so we could actually create the ballpark estimate right here if we wanted to, and it would show up on the project page, but you're just looking for a single number. And so you see here we've got an estimated quantity of 22 cabinets, and this was for one room. We're going to look at this project over here as kind of our example. This is a live copy of one of the Custom Cabinet Estimator users, and this is his copy of Custom Cabinet Planner. And you see here that we put in 22 cabinets as a cabinet quantity, and the result of that, by choosing the link to rates, there's multiple rates in here, but those rates are generating a low ballpark estimate for this room with 22 cabinets of $13,884.86, an average of $25,080.66, and a high of $35,329.14. And so that would be a pre-qualifier to going to the trouble of creating an estimate in Custom Cabinet Estimator. Then let's jump down to our selections meeting. And basically what we're going to do here, we've got a little setup area that's just kind of reminding us of a few things, and then the process area is giving us the opportunity while meeting with the client to gather their selections for what sink type they want to use. I've actually added the floor type here in the newer version. Again, this is someone's personal version and it hasn't been added yet, but we also want to ask that question: what is your floor type and how thick is it? And then in the elicitations now we ask, when do you want your cabinets? Before the floor goes down or after the floor goes down? And then we have the typical things that we would need to know to create this formal estimate. So exterior material, interior material, edge band, door model, door edge profile, door frame profile, door panel profile. Each one of these has the options that we typically see inside of Custom Cabinet Estimator, and you can add anything you want just by typing it and say add. Then there's our short drawer front model, our tall drawer front model, our drawer box, stain and paint color, glaze, sheen, door surface hardware, drawer surface hardware, crown, and light rail. Then we have our accessories, any accessories they might want, and you can see in this case, I'm going to slide a couple of these around to get them to behave like I would like for them to. I want those to stack. And so this client, in addition to choosing their door style and their finish and all those things, they've also said they want a docking blade used in this kitchen. They want a spice pull out and a utensil pull out, one on either side of the range. And so that's all of our selections that we are going to enter into Custom Cabinet Estimator. So this is all done. I just want to show you, so I'm going into that same project and we'll actually skip down. We gathered the information here, but then we actually have the instructions in the next section. So we have the estimate procedures. The example that's in here is Custom Cabinet Estimator, but if you had another program, you could change the name of this and edit it, or you could duplicate this and then edit that, however you wanted to go about that. We have a setup basically saying these are the things you're going to need to create an estimate. So the supplies you're going to need is a Scale Master if you're using blueprints and you need to get the linear footage using a Scale Master on blueprints, and then your job specific data. And so here we see in Custom Cabinet Estimator that our first step would be, if their client doesn't already exist, to go into the Client tab. Well, obviously I've already done that. We have a client, and so we won't do that step, but you would go to the Client tab and then follow this, and then you would check that off and say, yep, I did that. And then you'd go to the Jobs tab, which is where we're at right now. We're on the Jobs tab. So in the Jobs tabs, we want to create a new job. We've done that. On the Job Info tab, which is the tab we're on right now, we want to enter all this appropriate information. If you wanted to have some sub-steps here, if you had people that were making mistakes on this page, you could come in and just make sub-tasks, literally take enter, create that task, slide that task over till it's under there, and then you'd have a subtask, and you could say double check the default cabinet heights, whatever you wanted to. Double check the tax rates if you have problems with that. But that's easy to do, to add subtasks, but we're basically saying that we want to go ahead and determine what the terms for this project are, what the markups for this project are, what the taxes for this project are, and then what's our delivery situation. In this case, this particular phase of this project, this happens to be phase 2, is going to take 5 trips. It's 8 miles away, so a total of 80 miles, having 8 miles each direction times 5. And then what do we charge per trip? And then what do we charge per mile? And then what do we charge per box? So then we've checked our info tab. Now we want to check our client tab, make sure we've got the address to deliver the cabinets to, the builder's address, any phone numbers or email addresses that might be needed. And then we go to our processes section, and this is just literally step-by-step instructions on exactly what to do. So we go to rooms. Here we're being told to add a room, but we've already got some rooms, so we're just going to jump into this kitchen perimeter and say, yep, we created that room, and then entered it. And now we're ready for our material entry. It defaults here to the material tab, and so we have those room selections we got during that room selection meeting. So we can look across here. Now I'm only using half my screen so that I can show both of these. I'm having to scroll a lot. You wouldn't have to scroll as much if you had a couple screens. So you see all of the information that we would enter here, and hopefully you have a default set that you could pick from, that you have one that happens to have at least the door and drawer front, maybe the finish, maybe the wood species if it happens to be wooden. But if you don't, I would pick something close rather than just start answering these one at a time. I would choose something as close as possible and then edit what needed to be changed. So we have that information to feed into here. Make sure you also check the interior as well. So we did the material tab exterior and we did the material tab interior. So then we would go to the cabinets tab, and we are on the base cabinets right now, and we want to basically calculate every cabinet width if we know that information. In this case we did, but a lot of times we don't, so we're going to use that scale master and roll it and say we got this many linear feet. Right here's where you enter the linear feet. You would enter that here. If you have any finished interior, you would put that here, and unfinished interior here. This is all modern job, so it was all acrylic doors, so we didn't have any finished interior cabinetry. And then you're picking your cabinets and adding them, and these have all been added. But this linear footage calculator, we have drawings if we're at that point. Now this always is the case at proposal, but not necessarily at estimate. But if we know what those are as individual cabinets, we would come in here and say for cabinet number 1, it's already going to default to the base, and if we say it's 762 millimeters wide, you'd see that it has calculated for us that that's 30 inches. So if we scroll over a little bit, we see here that we have this 2.5, and I'm going to go ahead and add a second cabinet so we can kind of see how that works. O2 base, and let's just say it's 610 millimeters, and it's basically saying that that's 25 inches and that we have a total linear footage now of 4.6. So it's giving you this running total of the linear footage, the number that we're wanting here. So this is really handy to have this thing calculating that for you. You're not having to add all these cabinet widths up on a calculator. It does that for you. And so again, you see here we have unfinished interiors and finished interiors, and here we also have unfinished interiors and finished interiors, and we're calculating the linear footage of each. And then this is just literally step by step. This is what I would do, but this is not check boxes down here because you're going to repeat it for each cabinet. So I would have read through this to guide me to do this first cabinet, and then I would have done it again to do the second cabinet. When you look at this list, this was the first cabinet added, this is the second cabinet added, this is the third cabinet added. But we would follow these instructions. Once we had added all the cabinets, we would check that off, say okay, I've done all my base cabinets. Then I would go to my upper cabinet tab, and you can see you've got the linear footage calculator, we've got all of this information here for what we do with upper cabinets, and then this repeats for tall cabinets, linear footage calculator for those, then vanity cabinets, the same thing. Then we get to end panels, so we go to the panels tab, and it's basically telling us, okay, you need to do these things. In this case, we did have quite a few end panels. We've added all those end panels, so we could check that off, say, yep, I've done that. This is a kitchen, so I don't have any vanity cabinets, so I don't even open that up, don't check anything on it. If it's irrelevant, I just don't check it. Then we would say, do we have any appliance panels? Well, in this case, we do. So we would come in here, and we would do what this says, which would be add these two panels and put in the widths and the heights and all that stuff, and then we check that off, say yep, did that. Then wainscot panels, I do believe we don't have any here because this is the perimeter of the kitchen, but we do have panels on the island, and so they would be there. So we don't have any wainscot panels, so I don't bother to check that. And then fillers, it's just literally telling me which tab to go to. So now I'm ready for the fillers, and I can come in here and add the fillers one at a time, then say yep, did that, then add the toe board, And if you find that people are asking questions in these areas, you could add additional detail here if you needed to. So here's the toe board here. So yep, we added that. You can see that we have 6 pieces of that. Then we go to the hardware here, kind of walking us through that. We have our room selections again, talking about which hardware we're going to be using there to be able to confirm that and check that and be able to enter that here. And now we actually have inside of this a calculator for the extra hinges. And so when you came here, you would actually see another grid that would say, it's actually this third step at the bottom of this. There's a grid that says, hey, if you have any doors that are oversized, make sure you add those here. And it tells you what sizes of doors to be looking for. And then we would go to the accessories database and follow these instructions again. So we have these basically showing us these are the accessories that we have for this room. So we can look in there and see that we do need to put one of these docking blades. And so we see there's that drawer blade. And then we need to have this spice pull out and this utensil pull out. So we basically gathered it here from the customer and then entered it here. And at the project page, the customer could actually see pictures of these. That's nice. Then we have trim and molding, kind of the same thing. Check it off. Say, yep, we did that. Calculating all of that. And then labor rates. This is basically just saying, at least take a peek. You don't change labor rates from job to job. But make sure none of this is 0 or has nothing in it. Just look at it, make sure you recognize it. You might even hit the reset just to make sure if you've raised your rates since, it would immediately put in the new rates. We don't retroactively ever update the shop labor rates or the installation labor rates or the drawer labor rates because we don't want to change a legal document that you've created. But you can change it. You can say, you know what, I do want to apply those new rates. So you can hit that reset button. All right, so that covers the estimate side of it. And then we would come down here to, again, as a companion to this proposal procedures and just go through that exact same thing, other than we have different wording. And you can see this one is actually checked off because I did that and I had to reload it between the two because I had to edit it, and so I lost the checkboxes in the other. You can see here's all those cabinets listed here, each one of the cabinet numbers, and that gave me that linear footage total to enter into that box. There's that 23.1 that we would have seen for the base cabinets, and there's all the cabinets that make that up. And all I did was just literally type cabinet number. This was entered for me. I entered this width and it did everything else. As I added each one of them into Custom Cabinet Estimator, I checked this box. I have this little check box that allows me to check it and say I did it. And so that's really handy too. But this is kind of that go through it a second time or edit it. Sometimes when you go out and field measure, you got to change things. Sometimes the design changes, they change things. So that's how the proposal piece of it works. It's identical to estimate other than we're checking and editing rather than adding. So when we get down to this material acquisition piece, we actually have a place to put Custom Cabinet Estimator's job item costs, which can be used for acquiring materials. So if I click on that and then just click on it, it opens it. See, it opened it in a new tab. I actually already had one open. And this is all the things you told them they were going to get. So there's that drawer blade, the spice pull out, the utensil pull out, their costs, and then you have a checkbox. So if you print this, or if you put this into something like Notability, you can just check those off on your iPad or on your phone. So as you order these things, we would check these off when we ordered cabinets. We would check these off when we order from whoever our functional hardware supplier is. Once we got the doors ordered, we'd check that off and say, yep, we ordered the doors and drawer fronts. The fillers, then this again might come from the same people. The hinges and stuff might come from the same people those pieces came from. These would come from the same door supplier, but we have this as a checklist. It's also in here, again, when we get down into that load the trailer, reminding them, hey, these are the things that we sold. You need to make sure all these things are on the trailer. These things are either installed in the cabinets or they're put into the trailer or truck so they can be transported to the job site and put in there. That we should have all these appliance panels. We should have all of these moldings. Everything that you charge them for is on this list with a checkbox. And so one would be used for someone who's purchasing these materials. The other one would be used for somebody in the hardware department that also is going to load the cabinets once they're all completed onto your truck or trailer. And then just the overall big picture of this is that this is storing all of our stuff. We're taking one little peek into one little piece of this, but this project data, all of our stuff is basically stored as a single source of truth in this one place. If we come down through here and look into all the portals for all these pieces, we'll find estimates, proposals, drawings, where we double check the field measurement drawings, our field measurement images, all of those things. It's a single source of truth. Everything lives here. All of the colors are here, all of the selections from door style to wood species to finish, all those things are here in a single source of truth. And then I'm going to pop over into another piece of this just real quick and show you how two pieces of this work. We touched on this in some of the other courses, but I just want to touch on it here because it's specific to what we're looking at. So we're on the projects page now, and I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen now so I can kind of see over here to the right. And let's just kind of stick with this same Neil White Phase 2. As a matter of fact, let's narrow this list down to Neil White. So now you see, because I typed the same thing that this job name has, that everything else is gone. It's not gone, it's just hidden because I've said I just want to see that one. But as we slide over here to the right, there's only a couple things I'm entering here. Every one of these fields you see with a magnifying glass is drawing information from somewhere else. In this case, this is coming from the rooms. It's totaling up all the rooms, but we're going to take a quick peek at rooms in just a second. But it's basically saying all the rooms added together is $57,695. That in all those rooms have a total of 41 cabinets, and there's a total linear footage of 90 linear feet, and the total delivery cost. Now this was entered here from Custom Cabinet Estimator, from the proposal. We entered this $1,659.26 here, and then that took that and said, okay, I'm going to apply this to all 41 of those cabinets. So at that point, the delivery rate per cabinet, $1,659.26 divided by 41 is $40.47. And so at the room level, it applied this right amount to the specific room. We'll look at that in just a second. And so this $57,695 becomes $59,354 because we're adding this $1,600 to it. So that's the total job cost. And then the cost per cabinet's just nice information to have is $1447.67, and our cost per linear foot is $659.49. So that's good information to have. Now let's peek real quick into the rooms portion and just take a look at one of the rooms for this exact same job. So we're just going to jump into one of these rooms, and we've been looking at this kitchen right here. And when we look at this kitchen, go ahead and make that full screen as well. We see that we're entering a few numbers here. So this was our ballpark estimate that we saw, and then we came back from our proposal and said the actual cabinet quantity was 28. So this is an entry field. Like I said, the magnifying glasses are looking somewhere else. So each one of these that have a magnifying glass are looking somewhere else. These that have the sum character in front of them are actually doing some math on something. But this is a number field, and we actually entered 28 here, and we entered the total linear footage here for the room, and then we entered that actual room cost, and then that delivery cost is being calculated off of this. So we entered that at the project level, and it took that number divided by the total number of cabinets is 4047. And so now this thing has said, okay, here's the number we looked up of per cabinet, and now we're multiplying it by the cabinets in this room. So now we have a total room price would be what we would bill somebody if we needed to bill 2 or 3 or 4 rooms, and we didn't have to do any math on it. It did it just by entering the delivery cost and then entering our proposal information into this companion to Custom Cabinet Estimator. So this is definitely useful if you're a Custom Cabinet Estimator user, to be able to kind of coach you through, especially a new user, of exactly what you do step by step. That covers everything I wanted to touch on in this course on Custom Cabinet Planner as a companion to Custom Cabinet Estimator. Thanks for watching.